Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you are new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds. If you'd like to join the family, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays where I go live on YouTube around 4 p.m. Central Time, or outside of my YouTube, you can consider joining the Discord I've created. There is a link for that down in the description below. Also down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. A lot of times people ask me what meals I'm eating as I work towards my goal, and that Pinterest board is a great place to see the different meals and recipes that I've been enjoying. Today is day 948 of my challenge to lose 300 pounds. So far, through a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, I have been able to lose over 250 pounds so far. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. If you have any on-scale victories, I love hearing those as well. If you are succeeding with your diet, let us know what you are doing to succeed. If you're struggling with your diet, let us know what is causing your struggles. Maybe there's something we can help you with. And at the end of the day, what are some things that you are doing or you can do that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? Let's go ahead, switch over to the main screen here. A few people checking in. Hello, Jay and Carrie and Pretty Girl's mom. Hope you guys all had a great day today and have been doing well. I have been very busy with work. It's that time of year, so things definitely are picking up. So it's been busy, but things have been going really awesome for me so far this summer, and I'm looking forward to getting through the rest of it here. I will go ahead and go over food since yesterday. It was Monday. If anybody can guess what we had for dinner last night, since it was Monday. And actually, when I got home last night, dinner was not ready right away, and I was very hungry. And I was like, what am I going to do? I need to eat. It's been a whole 2 hours since I ate, 5 potatoes. So, so I was wanting to eat right away, but dinner wasn't ready. And so what I did is I had a couple of leftover potatoes that we had from lunch that I just heated those up, and I just ate a couple potatoes. And it's been a while since I've had a pocket potato, is what I was calling them. I know that I think Chef AJ had called it to pimp your potatoes, or the potato in my purse was an acronym that she had used. But yeah, I just realized it had been a long time, and I just thought I'd take a photo of it last night, eating a potato like it's an apple, or just like it's a regular, any other piece of fruit or vegetable that you would eat, and not having to have it mixed up and put into recipes with other ingredients, but just eating a potato just as it is. And so that's what I had yesterday as a snack while I was right before I had my dinner. Then for dinner last night, we had Mega Veggie Chili Monday, and my stream thing is way behind. So when I said Mega Veggie Chili Monday, I expected the picture to come up, but it has not come up. So I got to figure out what's going on with my stream thing here. Hold on a second. I figured it out. It should work better now. There we go. Mega Veggie Chili Monday for dinner last night. I had a massive bowl of Mega Veggie Chili. I tried to get a picture of it to show how big it is, but this is just a massive bowl of Mega Veggie Chili. This thing's way behind still. Let me reset this. Stop. I thought it had caught up and it hadn't. So let's see. There we go. So that was the Mega Veggie Chili from last night. Jay here says, yes, eat more potato meals. That's Mary's mini 10 days of just potatoes, vegetables, and fruit. Yes, lots of potato meals. I had potatoes for lunch yesterday and as a snack. But then for dinner, we had our Mega Veggie Chili, which is lots of vegetables. It's all that, mostly all that's in there. We have some bulgur wheat. Yesterday there was the dinner we had, I guess while I'm thinking of it here, that I was trying to figure out what the name of it was. I still don't have the name of it, but let me see if I have the photo. This dinner here yesterday, I thought that it had textured vegetable protein. It does not have textured vegetable protein. The hamburger that is in this was made from walnuts and mushrooms and onions, I think. And so that was this was a Well Your World recipe that we had for dinner on Sunday. And it was not textured vegetable protein that was in that recipe. But back to yesterday, Mega Veggie Chili. And then today had my standard oat groats and steel cut oats with mushrooms, onions, and spinach for breakfast, followed by a bag of steamed broccoli. Then after that, I had a bowl of potatoes with one massive potato in there, with a few other smaller potatoes mixed in, and a big bag of broccoli on top of that. Let's see here. And then we had, the only other photo is I just have it all mixed up here. I like to chop up or mash up the potatoes a bunch and mix in the broccoli. And then actually I had some of the California balsamics. It might have been the smoked hickory. But it was one of the California balsamics in there that I mixed in with that for my lunch today. Pretty Girl's mom says that was it supposed to say my healthy multi-pot, or is it supposed to be my melty multi-pot? So your melty multi-pot died this morning full of rice, and it was ready to be cooked. No customer service as they are out of business. That's very frustrating to have no service on things like that. I actually had an item, not a diet related thing, but at work we had purchased it's called a mini split air conditioning unit for our building. And we had it for like a year and a half. And during the lockdown and everything, it went out, and I tried to get it serviced, and the company that made it went out of business during that time. So I had this nearly brand new AC unit that the manufacturer wouldn't stand behind anymore because there was no more manufacturer to stand behind it. And the guy that sold it to me didn't either. So that was fun. Let's see. Carrie here says, she's asking if you have, she says, bummer. Do you have a buy nothing group by you? That's a thing where Carrie has gotten some things from, like an Instapot, and she says it's astounding the number of people who own pressure cookers and never use them. Yeah, the buy nothing thing is, Carrie is involved with one in our local community through Facebook, where people, put up items that they're no longer using that are sitting around their house, or people put up requests for things that they're looking for. We've gotten like soccer cleats for our kids. It saves us having to buy the cleats when people have hundreds of pairs of them just sitting in the garages, and they'd love to give them away to just get rid of them. So that's a great program. But if you have any of those around you, but yeah, that's frustrating because you wanted to eat and you weren't able to eat. You had to change your plan or cook it a different way, which I'm sure is pretty frustrating to deal with. Let's see. Jay here says no nuts or peanut sauces, avocados to lose more weight. Yes, the more you lower the calorie density of your diet, the more you're going to see success on the scale for sure. Let's see. So I went through food since yesterday. I had let's see. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I didn't get home until really late last night. I feel like I'm trying to think of what even happened. We had company over all evening, and so that kind of made everything a blur. But you had to cook it on the stovetop, pretty girl's mom. That sucks. You had to actually get out and do all of that energy to just cook it on the stovetop versus using your fancy gadget. It's amazing people even survived without an Instapot. Yeah, it was a quick evening last night. It really felt like it went quick. I can't think of what happened in particular, but it did go quick yesterday. I did have a lot of people commenting on my video about my bike ride. It was a fun bike ride to do that, and I'll have to get out and do some more bike rides. I actually did take some video with my camera this past week that maybe I'll try to figure out how to post a video from that stuff. I'm not the best at editing videos together or making content that way. I mostly just go live or record a single take video. So I'll have to figure out how to stitch all of the videos I took for my bike ride together, because I think people seem to be interested in that, and maybe if I show more of that kind of stuff, you guys will like that. So the topic I wanted to talk about today is making staying on your diet easier than the alternative. It's a question I ask every single time I start the stream. What are you doing to make staying on your diet easier? And I'd love it if you guys gave some examples of things that you do to make staying on your diet easier. Jay here says that he cooks everything on the stove. He got a crock pot at Target for $10, uses your air fryer for baked potatoes, yams, and sweet potatoes, and some homemade French fries, home fries, and hash browns. Potatoes. Any way you can cook them, right? Sounds delicious. We actually just gave away our potato slicer because we bought this thing to help cut the potatoes into like French fry shapes. So we were going to cook them in the air fryer. And then that was a big reason why I bought my air fryer when we first started this, was because I was going to have, French fries essentially, or air fried potatoes. And then I never really got into it. I always just liked eating we eat a lot of golden potatoes. And so I always just enjoyed eating them out of the Instapot versus taking the time to cut them up into French fry shapes and then put them in the air fryer themselves. Yeah, Carrie says here that, we have an Instapot at work, which really helps us a lot. Today, we had our potatoes for lunch, and then she also did another round and made rice for the kids. So, having a backup for those appliances might be something worth having, because, we tend to use them so much. We have 2 Instapots, because actually we have more than 2 Instapots. We have one here at work. We have one, and we have 2 at home. And so we always have a backup in case something happens. We can get our food cooked. But yeah, some of the things I wanted to talk about with the make staying on your diet easier. That's extremely important. I talked a lot yesterday about the cost benefit analysis that our brain makes. And it does it every millisecond of every day. Our brain is making constant cost benefit analysis. Is what I'm doing right now worth it? And, what could I be spending my time doing if I wasn't spending my time doing this? And would I receive more from doing that other thing versus doing what I'm currently doing? And so when you first start on your diet, your brain is really fighting you with that cost benefit, because it sees the cost of getting rid of the processed food as being very high and the benefit being very low. And you have to push your body through that cost benefit kind of crisis that it's going through. And it's a crisis that you'd been avoiding for months or years, like I was. Like I constantly, every morning for years, I woke up in pain from the swelling around my ankles and having to deal with being 500 pounds. And from the time I woke up until I nearly got to work, I would argue with myself about starting a diet that day. Today could be the day. Today, all I have to do is make the right choice today, and today is the day I start my diet. And when I first get up and I'm dealing with the fact of being 500 pounds, it's easy for me to convince myself that, today would be a great day to do it. Today would be I should do it. I should say something to Carrie and make today the day. But then I get ready for work and I get in the car and I don't have a plan. I never made a plan for that day to be the day. I didn't have any food ready for me. And so I get driving, and as I get driving, I start to get more and more hungry. And my brain says that it wants to start that day, but it looks around me and it's like, well, there's no food around me. Where can I get food? And then it starts going to the quickest places to get food. And when I'm in my car driving to work, the quickest place to get food is always going to be the junk that they sell at fast food restaurants. So it never occurred to me in all of those years that I had this argument with myself, it never occurred to me to pull into Walmart and go inside and grab a bag of oranges, or to grab apples, or to grab food to cook from inside of Walmart for that day. Because I didn't know it as an option. It wasn't, in my mind, the only option for food when I was in my car was to go through a drive-through, and there was no real healthy options at any drive-through. And so it would do that cost benefit as I'm driving down the road of, well, if you're going to start today, but you don't have any food, so you have to eat something. So, well, maybe we'll just have a small breakfast today of all days. We'll have a small breakfast today because today is the day we're starting, and then you get to the drive up line, and then you have to decide, well, if I'm going to eat half of what I normally eat, which half am I going to normally eat? Or which half of my normal diet am I going to eat? And then you decide, well, maybe it's just easier to go through this for lunch. Maybe it's just easier to start at lunch, and then you have that big breakfast, and then you get upset with yourself because you didn't do what you set out to do that morning. And you say, you know what, screw it. I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll just do it Monday. I'll just keep putting it off. But if you had things in place that made staying on your diet easier from the beginning, you can win that equation and you can succeed on your diet. I think what happened so many times was that I said, the diet starts Monday, but I didn't put anything in place between the time I said the diet starts Monday and when Monday rolled around. And that's something that was different with this challenge that I did for myself, was that I said that the diet starts on November 1st, but what can I do to make it succeed? What can I do to make it easier for me to succeed? And I didn't have to do a lot when I first started, other than get through the fast. And once I started to actually eat foods, that's where I had to start putting these practices into place. And what got me even thinking about this was that pocket potato, just eating a potato like an apple. That was one of the first things I did that I felt like, it's like, why hadn't I been doing this sooner? Why don't people just eat a potato like this? It's a delicious snack as it is. It's no less weird than somebody eating a hard-boiled egg. It's actually probably much more normal than somebody eating a hard-boiled egg. But nobody does it. I don't ever see anybody just buying a potato and just eating a baked potato. And so just having cooked potatoes around is something that makes it easier to stay on my diet than the alternative. It's eating before I go places, or making sure that I have a full stomach. It makes it easier to stay on my diet when I'm at places when there is food around that's not compliant. It's having food in my future. It's having a plan where if I am going to an event that's going to have food that I'm not going to be able to eat, to have a plan for what I am going to eat when it's done. Oh, when this event is over, I'm going back to the hotel room. I have a bag of potatoes. I have rice. I have Spanish rice made. I have some of the red lentil chili made up. I have any of these wonderful recipes that you can batch cook and you can transport and travel with. If you have that at your hotel room, or if you have that at home, if you're going to a local event and you have a soup made for when you get home, when you're at that event, you have that as an option in your future, so that when your body gets hungry and it does that cost benefit analysis, it says, oh, we're going to have to go hungry for a little while, but it's only for an extra hour. If you didn't have that food in your future, when your mind goes to do that cost benefit analysis, then it's going to say, oh, we don't have food for an undetermined amount of time. And that's when your body starts to freak out, is when it starts to have a indeterminate amount, or a chance of not having any food in your future, that your body freaks out and says, well, I need to eat the food that's around me now. So if you have that, something in your car, something in your purse, something at home for when you get done at that event, it's going to help you succeed. And maybe even it could be as simple as just having fruit in your car. I have some bananas, or I have oranges or apples in my car that as soon as I leave, I'm going to be able to eat those items. And so Jay here says that they love to eat just a can of artichoke hearts of palm, green beans from Walmart. They're snacks in the car. Yeah. When I first started this diet, two of my favorite things to do was to just eat a can of pineapple right out of the can, or to get a can of corn and just throw the can of corn in the microwave and just heat it up and just eat corn. And those are simple things you can do that get you food, that put volume in your stomach, that are going to give you calories. It's going to give you energy to get through the day. It's going to help you stay on your diet. It's going to help you stick to it. Jay here says that Chef AJ says you got to eat lots and lots of vegetables. Eat a big plate before your meal. Must pick up on the vegetables. Yes, eat more vegetables. And it will help you get through, and it will help you succeed for sure. That is what I have found, since we started doing the reboot, and we've added the broccoli into our diet. It's been really helpful with the cravings, or not cravings, the snacking, I guess, or the being hungry later in the day, and helped me to get rid of some of the junk that I had in my diet. I guess, it was 6 months ago that I guess that we did the reboot. I had cleaned up my diet quite a bit. I think it was in August of last year. So yes, you got to find ways to make staying on your diet easier. Having the snacks in your car, not putting yourself in positions where you're out of food, or you don't have food in front of you. It's, when you first start on your diet, it's very important to have the temptations removed as much as possible. If you can be in a completely clean environment, that is going to help you succeed the most. And you don't have to be in a clean environment forever. But the cleaner the environment you can be in when you start, the better it's going to be, because you don't have to fight that temptation. That's something that it might have been from the Pleasure Trap book, but I know it was one of the books they talk about. But they talk about, by having that junk food in your house, you force yourself to go through the argument of not eating it constantly. Whereas if it wasn't in your pantry, you would never have that argument. If you have a bag of chips in your cupboard and you say to yourself, I'm not going to eat those chips. They're off my diet. I'm going to eat all of the apples and the oranges that I have. I'm going to eat all of the potatoes and the rice and everything else I have. But I'm not going to eat those chips. And you stick to your diet for a couple days and things are going great. But every time you go into that pantry, you see that bag of chips. And after a certain amount of time, your brain is, or even initially, probably mostly initially, every time you do see that bag of chips, you're going to have that quick kind of, well, I'm not eating that. And maybe the first day it's easy to say, well, I'm not eating that. It's not on my diet, or the first couple days. But after a week, they might start calling your name. And if you make it a week, I'd be surprised, because I don't know that I would have when I first started. And, but you have to have that argument every time that you see that, or you're reminded of it. And then at a certain point, every time you think of the pantry, your mind thinks of the chips that are in the pantry, and you are constantly having that argument with, you're constantly relying on your willpower to succeed. And if you didn't have the chips in your pantry in the first place, then you wouldn't have to have that argument, and you wouldn't have to rely on your willpower to fight that urge. And you could use your willpower to fight the other urges that you're going to deal with, because you're going to have to go out into the outside world where it's not a perfectly clean environment, or as clean as you can make it at home. And so it's important, though, that you do get that clean environment together when you first start. It's going to make staying on your diet a lot easier if you do that. And when you have a family and you have a spouse, it does make it difficult to clean up your environment. And, it's one of the things that I had kind of heard early on with this diet that I thought was an interesting idea or concept as a way to think of it, is to think of, if you're going on a diet or you're considering starting a diet, if you were to think of it as you having some sort of debilitating disease or accident that had happened, how would your loved ones or your spouses react? If I had gone to the doctor and the doctor said, "Hey, your leg is really bad. We're going to have to cut off some toes or cut off your foot." Then I would have come home, and said something. I would have said that to Carrie, and she would have been like, "Okay, what do we have to do to make your life easier after that incident?" And we would change cabinets, we'd change doors, we would change access to the house if that was the case. Maybe not all that stuff, but you would, let's say if I had to be in a wheelchair, you would do all kinds of stuff to accommodate that thing that happened to that person. Or if it was just even a small accident, I tore my bicep tendon and I had to deal with the fact that I didn't have the use of my arm for a couple months. Carrie was like, "What do you need me to do? I'll help you get your clothes together. I'll help you get dressed. I'll help you with taking care of the incision, whatever you need help with. I'll help you with that injury you had." But it seems like when it comes to diet, if you ask for help, people kind of tell you you're on your own, well, that's your problem because you're the one that's choosing what you eat. But if you get them to think of it as like an accident or a disease or something big that happened and just say, "Hey, your life is going to be inconvenienced by this for 2 weeks, or maybe 3, that I just need to not have the junk food in the same pantry that I'm reaching into, that I need you to eat that food outside of the house, eat it in a different room. Don't eat it in front of me. Just do it for a few weeks." Because if they can do that, it will help you strengthen your diet and your resolve to stick to your diet. And I would like to think that people, if you had a broken arm, that your spouse would help you with your broken arm. If you had a broken leg, or if you had to be in a wheelchair, or you had a bad accident, they would do things to help you succeed with that. And maybe it's not a spouse, maybe it's your family, maybe you live with your parents or you live with somebody else that, you just ask them, just for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks. It's not a permanent change. Just because you're changing your diet doesn't mean they have to change their diet. Hopefully they see how much benefit you have from changing their diet and then they decide that they want to change their diet to that. But if you can get them to understand that it's just a temporary time where you need to be strict, where you need that help, just a short period of time where you need that help, maybe they'll be more open to the idea of helping you out with it. Jay here says it's hard with kids having junk around in bags and boxes. Or is it hard? No, it's not. It really has not ever been since I started this diet, but I had Carrie helping me. And when I first started this, I was doing a water fast and I didn't have to deal with preparing the kids' foods a lot. So I was able to avoid food as much as I needed to avoid it when we first started. And then after the water fast, we switched to eating a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet. So none of the kids' junk food ever tempted me at the beginning. And so the only food that, and I've talked about this in the past, that I would say I've ever really had a temptation for that our kids have in the house is tortilla chips. And that, and I don't ever give into it. Like I think I have a fond memory of, just munching on Tostinos Tostitos tortilla chips. I don't even remember the name. But Yeah, Carrie says that it's much more of a challenge for her because she is handling their food a lot more. And we quickly switched our diet from eating the standard American diet to eating this whole food plant-based diet. Our kids, we've transitioned to eating this way, and they eat much healthier than they did when we first started, so there's not as many of those temptations around in the house, like our kids had brown rice for lunch today, and when we first started this, our kids were still eating meat products, so they would have had, hot dogs and ham sandwiches for lunch when we first started. But I like I was saying, if you can get through those first 2 or 3 weeks, the resolve within the diet, I feel like, is something that I've been able to hold on to. And so it hasn't been so difficult for me. But I know Carrie goes and things. And that's another thing too. Carrie says here that she doesn't go hog on things, but she definitely has a nibble here and there since she prepares all their meals. And their meals aren't like, so we made Carrie made the kids a potato salad that was something that we had at the Plant Pure Heartland, what was it? Plant Pure Pod meetup that we had done, that they had a potato salad that has pickles in it. And so Carrie made that for the kids the other day. And I could see where that would be very difficult because it's not like it is the crap that we used to eat. It's not anywhere near what we used to eat, but it does have pickle in it, which doesn't fall into our diet. And so it's one of those things where that cost benefit, it's easy to lose that cost benefit analysis when it's, like 99% of the world says eating a pickle isn't going to hurt you. And so it's hard to keep on it. But Jay here says, yes, it's the crunch. Yeah, of the tortilla chips. And the saltiness of it, like just and probably the dipping sauces I would have put them in. But yeah, definitely the saltiness and the crunch of the chips. And then, the idea or the concept of if I eat it, I'm going to wear it. Yeah, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And so that is big. Lynette checking in saying hello. Lynette. I hope you're having a great day today. Let's see. Yes. Carrie says it was the pickles, but she did buy some low sodium pickles, but still. And in fact, I bet subconsciously Carrie bought the low sodium pickles because she knew there was a chance the kids wouldn't eat it. And at least when she was going to eat it, give in to eat it, at least it was going to be the low sodium. And so I don't even know, do low sodium pickles taste good? How do they make them low sodium? Thought they needed the sodium to pickle them. So it's difficult, but it's also the idea of a timeline for your weight loss, I think has to go away. I mean, it was a huge proponent for the start of my challenge. I wanted to lose 300 pounds and I wanted to do it in 3 years. Easy to do it in 3 years, right? And we put a deadline on ourselves so many times. 3 years was the longest deadline I'd ever given myself. Most of the time it was, how much weight can I lose in 6 months? How much weight can I get to my goal in a year? How fast can I get to my goal? It's always been about speed and how quickly I can get there. And I think that it doesn't matter how quick I get to my goal weight, as long as everything that I consume is healthy, then that is what my concern is. So, and I think that's what I think you have to, hold yourself to that standard versus what the scale says every week. Because the scale's not going to say a great number for me tomorrow again, and it's going to be what it is. But I did the same thing through the 270s. I got down to 272, or maybe even I might even touch 260. And then I gained 10 pounds over 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. And then I lost 20 pounds in the next 3 weeks. So my body's going to do ebbs and flows and ups and downs with my weight. And I'm sure it did it on the way up. I'm sure that there were days where I gained a couple pounds, and then the next day I was down a couple pounds, and then the following day I gained 3 more pounds, and then I was down a pound the day after that. And my weight fluctuated, by pounds each day, each week. But it was trending upward. There were weeks where I was eating horribly and I might not have gained any weight that week, or lost weight. And so I didn't gain it on a linear rise up. I'm not going to lose it on a linear way down. Janet checking in. She just finished a 45-mile ride. I'm out here bragging about doing a 6-mile ride the other day, and Janet's here knocking out 45 milers. I think I caught a brief clip where, did you do 150 miles this weekend? I think I heard that. So that's awesome, Janet. I hope you enjoyed the bike rides and got to see some wonderful scenery, and didn't run into too many idiots in cars, right? Jay says, don't say that about the 3 years. I mean, what's the difference if I lose the weight in 3 years or I lose the weight in 3.5 years in the long run? Like if I live to be 80, then that means that I will have lived 6 months more at 20 pounds lighter, over the course of the next 40 years, like if doesn't seem worth it to risk anything for a few extra weeks or a few extra months when I'm already so close and so far away from where I started. So if I do get there by the 3 years, I'll be extremely happy. And I will be the first to admit that if I wanted to, I could lose 46 pounds easily in 6 months. But I'd have to change what I'm doing. And I don't want to change what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 950 days, and it's been working. And it's been working the way I want it to work. It's allowed me to lose weight through diet, and that was huge for me. I thought that I was going to have to do some pill program or these shots they're doing now, or have surgery, or be at the gym every day of my life for the rest of my life. I wanted to lose this weight because I see people out there eating and walking around at a healthy weight and not running around at the gym every day. So they must have figured out the equation for their body. Why can't I figure out the equation for mine? And that's what it was 1,095 days to figure out how to eat like the 220-pound version of myself needs to eat. And I'm getting there, and it's working, and I'm loving it, every minute of it. Jay here says that summertime is the easiest time to lose weight because it's hot and we eat less and drink more. Yeah, somebody who is 266 pounds, could likely lose 40 pounds in 4 months with the right workout program, the right diet program, the right everything. And there's a chance I still do this by the end of October, and especially with how busy my summer is going to be. My end of July, I think the first year I did this, I lost 15 pounds that week of Ragbri, like nothing. And so, and I had a torn bicep tendon. So, I'm sure that I will lose a bunch of weight this summer in big chunks again as well. So, but it's the concern about doing it in a certain amount of time, and the number of times that I've done the math in the past 950 days, how many pounds do I have to lose every day from now until the end of this to reach my goal? Or how many pounds have I lost if I did the average from here to there? Or if I take that 4-pound weight loss I had 2 weeks ago and I'm able to duplicate that every single week, how quick will I be there? I could get there. I could get done quicker if I lose 4 or 5 pounds a week. And I've done that in the last couple months. I've lost 4 pounds, but what I was doing that week, I don't know. It just, my weight just dropped the way it did. And if this was difficult, if I was having a hard time with my diet and exercise that's non-existent, and the weight was doing what it's doing now, I could see being more frustrated. But I've not had the same difficulty that I went through for all of those diets that I did in the past that only lasted for 6 months or 8 months or 9 months, because they were so difficult to stay on. This diet is not difficult to maintain. It is the easiest diet that I've ever been on as far as maintenance, because if you're hungry, just eat low calorie dense foods. Throw a bag of broccoli in the microwave. Eat a plain potato. Eat just some rice with some seasonings on it, or some tomatoes with your rice. It's just change what you eat. Feed into your instinct for volume in consumption. It's what we were designed to do. Just don't eat the processed crap that everybody else is eating and that you used to eat. Oh, okay. You were talking about the scale tomorrow. Don't think that. Yeah, no, it could be. It really depends on how much I eliminate in the next 24 hours. And if I, as far as passing through. But yeah, it's not even, again, I'm not worried about it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So let's see. Janet says here, you did a 42, a 51, and a 37. That is awesome, though. That's still over 125-ish or something. That's really awesome. That's a lot of miles. Or was it 120? So yeah, that's great. I did that 6-mile bike ride with a break every 3 miles, and my butt was A-okay with being done. No, I could have gone for a little longer, I suppose. It's actually this week with Ragbri. They're doing the Ragbri pre-ride this week. And was it 2 years ago? Yeah, it was 2 years ago. That was the longest bike ride I ever did. It was a 30-mile bike ride from DeWitt to Clinton. So yeah, that was shorter than your shortest one that you did this weekend, just for fun. That's awesome though. That's great. And let's see. Jay here says, in response, what did Plant Powered say? Oh, Janet. Okay. Let's see. Janet here says that Dr. Goldhamer calls the California balsamic vinegar soda pop. I would believe that he would call it soda pop. Yes, we've not had much of it, or or as much of it here the last couple of weeks or the last week as we had before. So Jay says that he loves it in his salads. And then the Chef AJ's flavored vinegars would be crack for him or for them. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is the Chef AJ have their own flavored vinegars? But yeah, as far as flavorings go, the California balsamic is definitely the most probably flavorful thing that we have in our diet. So I could see why he would call it soda pop. And let's see. So other ways that staying on your diet, making it easier. It's important to make it easier at the beginning of your diet, but it's also important to not forget the things that you did when you started, because it's easy to start letting them go lax, like the pocket potato that I had, like there's probably occasions in the past year that if I would have chose the plain potato over what I did choose, it would have been a better choice for me to make. And it just kind of, I think what probably happened was that we incorporated potatoes so much into our diet by having them every day for lunch and then some days for dinner as well as lunch, that I kind of in my mind was like, well, I'm already eating so many potatoes, like how many more potatoes can you eat? You have to have some variety, I think, was something that I subconsciously had thought, and in this past week or like yesterday, I had that extra potato. I've actually been eating a little bit of extra potato in my lunches, or trying to have a little bit more of that in my lunches so that I'm more satisfied throughout the day. And I think that helps, also eating, making staying on your diet easier than the alternative, making sure that you're eating a good volume of food. It's the idea of portions before were so limited when it came to the foods that I eat now. Like when I would go to a restaurant and somebody else at the table would order a salad, because I would never order a salad, but it would come back and the salad they got, like their side salads, were just these small bowls of salad that, I avoided like the plague, because even that small bowl seemed like too much to me. But now I look at those salads that they sell at restaurants and I think, well, where's the other half of it? Like they're getting away with giving people less than a full meal with these salads. And so, and the same thing with potatoes too, but it wasn't, I would think of eating too many potatoes as a bad thing, but it wasn't the potatoes that were the bad thing I was eating too many of. It was the cheese and the butter and the bacon and all the other stuff that I was putting in those potatoes, that when eating a larger volume of potatoes meant I had a larger volume of those other things. Those were the problem. It wasn't the potatoes that were the problem. It was the other stuff. Jay here says that Dr. McDougall says less variety, same meals, more weight loss. Yeah, I think that there is something to that in the beginning. If you can get into a routine and you can stick to that routine and you can avoid deviating from that routine, it makes things easy, because it's sort of like with that decision with the snack food in your cupboard. If you don't have to make that decision not to eat the chips because they're not in your cupboard, it makes your diet easier. Well, if you don't have to make the decision not to eat that junk food or that anything because it's not on your routine, then you're going to stick to that routine until you don't. And that's something that, and then once you don't stick to that routine anymore, then it gets difficult to go back to it. But if you can get into a routine when you first start your diet, and you can say, this is the routine, and if you have to make changes, you have to be open to make changes. But if you say, this is what I'm going to eat for breakfast, this is what I'm going to eat for dinner, these are the variants of things I'm going to eat this is what I'm going to eat for breakfast, this is what I'm going to eat for lunch, and then there's these varying things I'm going to eat for dinner. Then, or not even have the varying things. Just be like, okay, my dinner is going to be this. And then you can stick to that routine. If you can stick to it for weeks or months, then it makes it easier because you're not constantly making that decision to not eat junk food. You're just making the decision to eat the food that's on your routine. And that is great for the start of a diet, for the beginning, but the world shows up. That's the problem, is that when we start these diets, we create these clean room environments, but we can't keep the world out of that clean room. You might be able to sweep it up and get everything out at first, but eventually the seals in the windows and the doors start leaking and the dust starts blowing in. You know, I did not, when I started this diet on November 1st of 2020, I had no intention of tearing my distal bicep tendon in July of 2021. And if I didn't tear my distal bicep tendon, my weight loss doesn't slow down at that point. And then I don't find a justification for having salt, oil, sugar because my weight loss slowed down. So I gave myself a reason. There was a bunch of extenuating circumstances, but it was up until that point, I was able to control everything and I was able to keep it all out. But life happens and you can't control that. You can't control that you go on a trip and there's not any food available. You can't control, a lot of things. And so eventually you have to start being malleable or pliable with your diet and start to maybe add more variation, because when I first started, I, was more focused on the timing of my eating. And you can do that for a long time, but you can do that for a long time when you're at home. But what happens the first time you travel? Are you going to just stay at home the rest of your life and not travel and live in that clean room? Or are you going to get out into the world that you want to enjoy now that you've lost some weight? And that's another thing that gets in, it's easy to make that room clean when you're a shut-in and you didn't do anything anyways before and nobody messed with your food or gave you any opinions before. It's easy to be in that clean room, but then you start to eat better and you start to feel better and you decide, well, maybe I do want to go out with my friends or I do want to do that with the kids. And then it's not as easy to stay clean because you're doing things that you're choosing to do. Carrie says she's down with the same dinners every night. Yes, we could do that. Dr. Bulsiewicz wouldn't be very happy, I suppose. That's where Dr. Will Bulsiewicz, fiber fueled, he talks about eating a large variation in your diet. Again, it's kind of the thing that maybe when you start your diet, you start with the McDougall idea of eat less, eat the same thing, get more weight loss. But then as you go on, you start kind of going over towards the Dr. B with the getting a full spectrum of nutrients and making sure you have a healthy gut microbiome. Figuring out how to go from one to the other and do that transition might be where the success is. That might be what you need. Jay says to go for it. Same dinner every night. You make potatoes about 5 or 6 different ways. And then I eat a lot of vegetables. So, um, yes. So, yes. And Carrie says she loves not having to make decisions. Yes. The decision paralysis, I think, is something we've talked about in the past, with it. So, I think I just hit an hour though. And so that would be a good time to get out of here today. Um, oh, okay. Carrie did not mean to put this thing here. I don't know if I can remove it without making it like blocking you. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. It's just a dumb message. So, yes, I'm going to get out of here for today. I really appreciate all of your guys' support and all of the questions and conversation that we have on my live streams here. It really helps keep me accountable and keep me going on my diet. So I appreciate you guys checking the videos out and participating in the conversation. If you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure you get subscribed to the channel. Click on that bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. Hit the thumbs up on this video as well. It really helps with the channel. And if you have not started your diet yet, get started right now. There's nothing coming up that's more important than your health and your overall well-being. There's nobody that reaches their goals, looks back, and wishes they would have waited. Everybody that reaches their goals wishes they would have started sooner. I haven't even reached my goals, and I wish I would have started sooner. I would be that much further along with my progress if I had. So get started now, guys. I will talk to you all tomorrow for Weigh-In Wednesday, and we'll hop on the scale and see how we did this week. Janet here said she made kidney bean chili with blueberries. So it sounds good. She says it was good. So we'll have to maybe get that recipe off of did you make it on your channel there? I imagine we'll have to check it out. So you guys all have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you tomorrow.